Hey folks, I'm Michael and welcome back to the channel. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for your daily dose of awful stories. Let's dive into the first post made in the relationship advice subreddit. The post is titled, "I just learned my partner is almost 50, not early 30s like he claimed. I don't know how to end this. He told me he was only about 10 years older than I am. I believed it because he is charming, flirty, and honestly made me feel cared for in a way I have never experienced before. He treats me kindly, offers to drive long distances to see me, and gives me gifts. But recently, I found some information online that shows he is actually almost 50. The more I look at him, the more I realize he really does look around that age. I cannot unsee it now. I feel so confused. This is my first time being in a relationship with a man, and maybe the first time I have ever felt loved because I was born into an unfortunate family. I enjoy being cared for and being his baby, but deep down, I know that is not what I truly want for my future. I want 2026 to be a fresh start. I want to explore life, figure out who I am, and find someone who is honest with me from day one, and someone who is not older than my dad. But I also feel guilty and sad, because even though he lied, I did care for him for a while. I think I need to end this relationship, but I do not know how. I feel lost and a bit heartbroken. How do I walk away from someone who made me feel loved for the first time, even though he lied about something so big? Edit, I am still in university, and honestly, I have barely interacted with older working adults, so not being able to judge age differences is definitely my own blind spot. Looking back, he really did look around 50 from the beginning. His body was fit, but the wrinkles and aging skin were obvious. I even asked about his age before, but he always dodged the question and never showed his identification. I was just too naive and too attached to see it for what it was. I started to understand that it was not love, but attachment. I am living alone abroad, and it is tricky for me to really get into the local culture because of language barriers. So I often feel isolated. When I got sick, he was literally the only person around to take care of me, so I clung to that feeling. I finally met him and ended things face to face. The conversation was calm. He apologized, said he knew I would eventually find out, and told me he is glad I'm growing up and thinking for myself instead of relying on him. He agreed that I deserve someone my age and a real relationship. I am still sad because it is my first breakup and the first time anyone cared about me like that. I also put my emotions, time, and effort into a relationship for the first time in my life, so it hits hard. I need time to process the end of my first relationship, but I will be okay. I have read all the comments. Thank you for the advice. Without that, I would not have had the courage to do this. He didn't make her feel loved, he exploited her loneliness. That's not romance, it's predation. A 50-year-old man lying to a university student about his age isn't charming, it's calculated manipulation. He dodged her questions and hid his ID because he knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't treating her like a partner, he was treating her like a possession, his baby to control. She feels guilty, he should feel like shit. He lied because no woman his age would tolerate his bullshit. He targeted her specifically because she's isolated, vulnerable, and didn't know better. The fact he was the only person around when she was sick isn't romantic, it's strategic. He positioned himself as her savior so she'd depend on him. That's textbook grooming. She didn't love him. She was attached to being cared for because her family failed her. Ending it was the only smart move. The sadness isn't about losing him, it's about realizing the love she felt was a lie. That's not heartbreak, that's waking up. OP got played by a middle-aged man who couldn't handle women his own age. Move on. The second story for today was made in the relationship advice subreddit. The post is titled, "Lost all intimacy with my husband due to a vasectomy stalemate. My husband and I have been together for 10 years and married for nearly 8. We have 2 children, ages 4 and 7. We have had a dead bedroom for over 2 years due to his refusal to get a vasectomy after I had 6 pregnancies in 7 years, resulting in 2 live births, 3 miscarriages, and an abortion. I am not sure how to move forward after everything that has happened and am looking for advice or various perspectives on what I should do. Here is a brief history of the 6 pregnancies I had over a 7-year period, some accidental and some intentional. 2016. Accidental pregnancy resulting in a missed miscarriage and a dilation and curettage procedure. Early 2019. Birth of our first child, intentional pregnancy. Late 2020, natural miscarriage of an intentional pregnancy. I bled out alone while taking care of our 2-year-old while my husband was on a work trip. Early 2021, missed miscarriage of an intentional pregnancy resulting in another dilation and curettage procedure. Early 2022, birth of our second child, intentional pregnancy. Mid-2023, abortion of an accidental pregnancy. I asked my husband to get a vasectomy after the birth of our second child, as I had already had 3 miscarriages, 2 surgeries, and 2 difficult pregnancies and postpartum periods, and we both knew we were done wanting children. I was particularly adamant that I was under no circumstances going to have a 3rd child. I had been on birth control pills for over 15 years prior to meeting my husband and no longer wanted to use that as a form of birth control. I considered getting a tubal removal, but because a vasectomy would be much less invasive and because of everything I had been through with past pregnancies and miscarriages, I felt it was my husband's turn to take control of our reproductive health. He refused the vasectomy. I was disappointed but also tried to respect his decision. I told him that if there were an accidental pregnancy in the future, I would not hesitate to get an abortion as there was no possibility that I was going to have a 3rd child, but that I really wanted to avoid that situation. We foolishly used an ovulation tracking app and the withdrawal method, which resulted in me getting pregnant accidentally when our second child was 15 months old. I had an abortion. Although I was confident in my decision to have the abortion and still am, I was not prepared for the amount of guilt, shame, and anger at both myself and my husband that I would feel afterward. I again begged my husband to get a vasectomy and told him that I would not be having sex until he did so, because I was having a difficult time in the aftermath of the abortion and was never going to allow that to happen again. He agreed to do it, but made no effort to make the appointment. About a month after the abortion, he tried to initiate sex with me and I reminded him of what I had said before. He then made the appointment, or at least claimed to, which he said was booked out for 3 months. In that time period, I stuck with my boundary of not having sex, but I did engage in other forms of foreplay because I trusted that he was going to get the vasectomy. In the 2 weeks leading up to his appointment, I casually asked him 3 or 4 times something along the lines of, "When is your appointment again?" And he would respond, "Oh, I think it is next Wednesday at 2, always prefacing it with "I think." I asked him if he needed to be dropped off or picked up on the day. We are a single car family, and he insisted he was fine taking a ride share. Wednesday at 2 comes around and I arrive home with the kids to see him sitting in his home office working. He claimed to have either forgotten the appointment or gotten too busy at work to go. I was in disbelief and told him that he should have booked the day off work when he made the appointment 3 months prior and should have had an alert set on his calendar. In addition, I had reminded him of the appointment 3 or 4 times in the weeks leading up to it. He said he would rebook. 2 years passed and he did not rebook the appointment. I regularly asked him when or if he intended to do so, and he always made excuses and strung me along, saying he was going to do it soon but could not because of some nonsensical reason. He never once had a heart-to-heart conversation expressing that he really did not want to do it or sharing any fears he had about it. He just continued to avoid the topic or make excuses when I brought it up. It was not until we were 2 years into a sexless marriage and had lost all intimacy and emotional connection that I asked him how he thought our marriage could survive this way. I also told him that I was no longer going to bring up the topic as I was tired of continually nagging him about it, but that my position had not changed regarding sex and putting myself at risk of another pregnancy. He pretty much sat there silently and did not have much of anything to say. A couple of months later, he tried to initiate sex with me, and when I was not reciprocating, he casually said, "I told you I have that appointment booked, right?" I told him no, he had not informed me of that, nor had he said anything about intending to do so after the last time I raised the subject. He said, "Well, I have the appointment." I asked when it was, and again it was a vague, I think it is like a month from now. I told him to come back to me after he had it done because after the whole debacle of the last missed appointment and the subsequent 2-year wait, I would believe it when it was done. I also reminded him that he would need to get cleared after 3 months and that I would not feel at ease until then. He got the vasectomy a month later, 2 years and 1 month to the date of when I had the abortion. I am trusting that he did in fact do it, although he again insisted that I did not need to drop him off or pick him up even though I offered, so I only have his word that he did it. It has now been 7 months since the procedure and he has not done the 3-month follow-up sperm count check despite my constant reminders and insistence that he do so. He said he was checked at 2 weeks and was told he just had to ejaculate approximately 40 times and that it was not necessary to get checked again at 3 months. This is contrary to everything I have read online or been told by doctors, which is that a post-vasectomy semen analysis is recommended about 8 to 16 weeks after the procedure, often after 30 to 50 ejaculations, to confirm that no sperm remain. I have repeatedly asked him to get the follow-up for my peace of mind, and he continues to make excuses. We have had sex a handful of times since the vasectomy, mostly because I believed he was going to get the follow-up, but I no longer believe that he intends to do so, and I am once again tired of nagging him and feel increasingly uneasy about having sexual intercourse. I had plans to get a tubal removal this week, but then found out that I would have to pay 25% or $3,500 out of pocket, and we cannot afford it. Tubal procedures are typically more invasive and more expensive than vasectomies. I am now considering getting on birth control, which with typical use is around 91 to 93% effective at preventing pregnancy. My marriage has been destroyed in this process. All trust, intimacy, and emotional connection have been lost. He has made no attempt to fix it or to initiate a conversation about what has happened. I am terrified of another pregnancy and am unwilling to risk it. I feel he has no regard for everything my body and soul have been through, and at this point I would not feel the desire to be intimate with him even if he were to get cleared. Where can I go from here? Can this situation be fixed, and is it worth fixing? Samoyed Fun said, the thing is, you usually do not go in and get a vasectomy at the very first appointment. The first visit is typically a consultation with the doctor, and then the actual procedure is scheduled afterward. This man is definitely not being truthful. Witty Stock said, yeah, I do not see how you can have sex with a man who has repeatedly lied to you about getting a vasectomy and whom you still do not truly believe even now. He knows what a pregnancy would do to you physically and emotionally, and does not seem to care at all. Did you even see an incision? Did he use ice? Was he doing anything that would actually indicate he had the procedure? You should absolutely check the insurance records to confirm whether a procedure was booked. But ultimately, there is no coming back from this in many people's minds, at least not without a lot of counseling. Frankly, it seems likely that he lied to you about the first appointment to coerce you into sex, tried to do it again, and may not have had a vasectomy at all.